like if my computer system was bogged down with so many viruses, so many bad things that like my process was running slow. I had no room to think or feel. I was just like so glugged up with bad energy that when I woke up, it's like it had been wiped clean. And I don't even know how to describe that feeling other than like I just had space again. It was absolutely incredible. And the way it's unfolded over time has been the best gift of my life, honestly.
Welcome to Still In It, 5-MeO DMT Stories. I'm your host, Arthur. Whether you're curious, preparing for your own journey, or reflecting on past experiences, we hope these stories resonate, inform, and inspire. Please enjoy today's episode.
This podcast is brought to you by Enfold, offering the world's most comprehensive 5-MeO DMT program. To learn more, visit enfold.org. That's enfold.org, or click on the link in the show notes.
Today, I'm really excited for this conversation. Muggs is a firefighter from just outside of Seattle, Washington, who joined us in January of 2025. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, Muggs.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So, of course, there's typically a reason for why people find their way to 5-MeO DMT and to what we offer at Enfold. I'm curious, Muggs, what could you share about what was happening for you in your life when you found your way to us?
I really didn't know anything about 5 or Enfold or anything like that. Prior to Enfold, I had been like researching different places I could go because I knew I needed something kind of substantial to help me through what I was going through, which was some depression, PTSD, past history, abuse, childhood of bullying. Like my whole world was just kind of like crashing down and getting smaller and smaller. And I really kind of stopped living or functioning. And I knew it had come to a point that I needed something bigger to help me. So I was looking at like psilocybin retreats and trying to find excuses to get down to Costa Rica to maybe do some surfing and work on myself. And then my sister-in-law had mentioned that she went to Enfold and did 5-MeO. And I really didn't research a lot about it. She said it was super helpful. And I was just like, something in my body was like, that's it. That's what I need to do. And I think that evening I emailed you to ask about it. And that's how I got connected to Enfold. I was looking for just like a big wallop to get me over and through what I was going through and to just start living again. Like my world had gotten so small, Arthur. Like I was at a Christmas concert and at the end of the concert, and it was like a chill thing. Everyone was clapping and I had like my hands over my ears. So like my system was just packed and flooded. And I knew like, I couldn't keep going like that.
Yeah, it sounds like if we talk about the nervous system, like a glass, the glass was full and not much room for any more input to go into the glass at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Like it was like sustaining itself for a while. And then I had these series of calls at work. They were like 4, 5, 6 of them that were just terrible. And before I knew it, I just wasn't functioning. And I had, previous history of going on calls all the time. And then just this packed in, I don't know, trauma just did me in. Yeah.
And of course, when you refer to calls, you mean calls that you were taking as a firefighter as part of your team?
I do.
Your work there?
Yeah, calls I was responding to. House fires, car accidents, suicides, hit and runs. Yeah. They all got packed in pretty quick.
Yeah. What was it like being in that line of work, also grappling with the challenges that you were facing internally? What did that look like before you joined us here?
Yeah, that's pretty challenging. I mean, I think you get compassion fatigue where you're just going through the motions and you're doing your job and you're doing it well, but you're not seeking that outside training. You're just kind of surviving. You're going on these calls. You could be more compassionate or more helpful, but you're just like going through the motions. And it's sad, because you want to be able to help people in a way that feels good too. And you kind of lose that part of the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there a particular point where you noticed that started to happen for you, or was it a series of events that led you to feel this way, or was it, one or several acute occasions that, created this condition for you?
Yeah. So before this series of calls that I went on at work, which I think really were the trigger point, I had packed in other traumas in my life that just were kind of stacking up. I never talked about them. I never dealt with them. Actually, prior to going to Enfold, I couldn't even have this conversation with you now that we're having about the calls that I went on at work and stuff that happened in my youth and growing up. It was just so difficult for me to talk about. So I think what happened at work specifically were the 5 or 6 calls in a really short amount of time. And they ranged in severity from what I saw, and not to get into too much detail, but there was a hit and run. There was a person that got run over. There was a suicide on the freeway. There was a house fire with people trapped. There was a car fire with people trapped inside. That was really a critical one. And then there was a fire that I was on as an engineer pumping, and the hydrants were bad in the neighborhood. And that was a real frantic moment trying to get the water to my guys that were on the end of the line. And I was inhaling smoke. I ended up in the hospital after that one. And it just took all these traumas that I could probably normally process over time, or that could stuff them back down in there. And I just couldn't. And it just really stopped my ability to function at home, function with my kids. I've got 2 kids, function with my wife, even though that had been struggling for a while. Just everything packed in, and I just couldn't do anything. I was in bed all day. I wasn't motivated. I didn't have enjoyment in activities. I didn't want to go out. I wasn't doing my art. Everything just kind of shut down. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot for one system to metabolize without some outside support or intervention.
Well, it's interesting you would say that, because I have tried a lot of other things. I've tried talk therapy. I've tried EMDR. I wouldn't say my psychedelic use is very extensive, but all kinds of traditional therapies. My wife is a therapist, and none of that. I did not want to go somewhere and talk about all my stuff. I couldn't talk about my stuff. I never had talked about my stuff. So that wasn't working for me.
Yeah. And so through your sister-in-law, who's been with us a couple times now, you find your way looking into 5-MeO and Enfold, and we're so grateful that you did. What do you recall from that experience over the 5 days that you were with us? Maybe say your first impression of when things started to open up and start to unfold for you.
Yeah. So I'm not a very wooey person, pretty practical. I was I knew I needed the help. It felt like a lifeline. This is it for me. This has got to work. It's, pretty powerful. If this doesn't work, this was it for me. So I filled out all the information and all the pre-questionnaire stuff pretty seriously. I think that's the first time in my life I'd ever really written down and talked about everything. So I knew I had a lot to work on, especially after seeing it all written out. And I still had a lot of trepidation, where I was going and what I was doing, but I was ready to be an open book. I took it pretty seriously. And you hop right into it at Enfold, and stuff started coming up for me right away. I noticed that. And I still was pretty closed off, though. I'm not an outward processor, I don't think, by nature. And I was going through the experiences at Enfold prior to the 5, and I was having experiences and still keeping it all in, and not even really aware of it, Arthur. But still, going through stuff and not like, other people they can cry or they can sing or they can, whatever they need to do to process that. And some of them in my sessions were doing that stuff, and that is not me. So I just noticed myself continuing to just push it down and hold it in, even though I was actively doing things to try and, process my stuff. I was like conscious that I was like holding it down, but knowing I needed to let it go. It's really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there a moment when you noticed that dam, so to speak, started to break and you were able to begin expressing things or allow things to move more freely?
Yeah. After the 5 ceremony, that rocked my world. And after the 5, that's when my entire world just flipped in like the best way possible. Honestly, like my ceremony, I don't know how much you want to get into that. My ceremony
As much as
was,
you'd like. Yeah.
yeah, my ceremony was really, really difficult. It had beautiful parts, but I think, Steve and Austin, they say, we've seen everything, don't hold back or don't this or that, but you really don't have a choice. And I think that's what I needed for the stuff that I was going to work through. I needed to go to a space where like my body would just go through what it needed to go through, and I didn't have to like sit down in a chair and talk it through with somebody. And I think you have these flash moments of what happens in your ceremony, and I have them, and I can pull them up right now in my brain. I spent the first, honestly, when you're under, you don't have a sense of time, but it felt like a long time. I spent just throwing up, just purging all of this energy that didn't belong to me. And I remember Austin saying, "You're doing exactly what you need to do. It doesn't belong to you. It never did." And I was like, all right, let's just do this. Like, get a tarp. I'm getting rid of all of this. Like, that's what I'm here for. Yeah. And then I remember a moment in which I was dying, and I like went through that process of a near-death experience. It was really, really traumatic. It brought a lot of things to light for me that are important in my life. Things that I could do better, things that I want to change. It made me retrospectively think about like, what have I done in my life so far? Like, if it really ends now, am I satisfied with who I've been as a human? And then I went through the dying process. Like in my head, like, what was real to me is that I was going through the tunnel, light was going, it was my time to go. And then that was it. And I was just in the universe as a soul, It was devastating to me. So as much as I was like suffering and hurting, I never wanted to die. So especially once I had finally made the decision to do all this hard work, I was like, not now. I'm like finally doing it. And then I don't remember some parts, but I think I put up a pretty big fight. At some point, I broke Steve and Austin's beautiful vase in their ceremony space with a foot, I think. But I woke up to this, not woke up, but my next memory is this figure standing before me saying like, it's not your time. Like, I'm going to let you go back and you have more to do and you've done all this hard work and you deserve a chance to like live with a free soul. It was like a really poignant, like, it's not your time to go. And I was so freaking grateful. And I came back to, and this is when I started to kind of like come back to earth, I just remember feeling like so incredibly grateful to be alive and to be on this earth, and a realization of how short the amount of time we have on earth is as like a human in a body.
Yeah.
And my hard drive had been cleared. Like, if my computer system was bogged down with so many viruses, so many bad things that like my process was running slow. I had no room to think or feel. I was just like so glugged up with bad energy that when I woke up, it's like it had been wiped clean. And I don't even know how to describe that feeling other than like space. I just had space again. And it was absolutely incredible. And the way it's unfolded over time has been the best gift of my life, honestly. Yeah.
No big deal. Yeah.
No big deal.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my ability to like think of a third option when times are tricky, or take a breath and not react, or to like come back to my partner when she's upset and be like, are you ready to talk now? Like, I'm here for it. You know, she's had to relearn me also, because I have a different operating system now. So I have space. I don't react. I can think about things. I can respond the way that like I want to respond. Like I always was this way. It's just that all the stuff that I've had to endure in my life has just clogged everything up. And now I get to be like me again. It's been incredible.
Yeah, beautiful. Sounds like the real Muggs is back online.
Yeah, she's back. Happy Mugs.
Yeah, love it. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't want to miss the near-death experience piece, because I think this is something that a lot of people will be curious to hear about, and it can be a common experience when ingesting 5. How do you think having that death rebirth experience changed how you relate to the people and things in your life coming back home?
It's made me relate to absolutely everything in my life differently. When you have an experience like that, and I will say it was very, very real for me. It was happening. Mm-hmm. And your life flashes before your eyes. You relate to everything in the world and the people around you so completely differently. I don't take anything for granted. Like the earth and the mountains and the water and nature, and every single day I get to experience it all again. I'm just so incredibly grateful for. And when you are in that mindset, stressors and tasks and all the like noise of your life that would normally tend to get in the way, they just aren't as important to you, because you've fundamentally had an experience that has changed what is important in your life. And for me, it was love, kindness, relationships, and patience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you relate to things from that perspective, it's exponentially impactful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How would you say it's changed the way that you show up for your kids?
They're challenging, and so they require a lot of patience at times. Yeah. I remember it wasn't very, they're 14 and 11 going on 12. So they're in those teenagey, angsty. But I remember I was driving with them and my wife, and we were driving somewhere, and they were just fighting and fighting and fighting in the back seat. They were just going at it. And one was picking on the other more. And I just turned around and said, Emerson, I love you. It's okay. Like, I just love you. And instead of getting mad at him or being like, stop picking on your sister, I just told him I loved him, and they stopped fighting. It was crazy.
It did the trick.
There's moments like that. Yeah, there's moments like that where you're just, normally you'd react, and instead you have an extra second to process, like, who do I want to be right now, and how do I want to show up in this moment? And before, I didn't have that extra time. But now I do. I can not react and think like, okay, how do I want to show up for him right now? Like, what's going on for him that's causing this action to come out? And how can I talk to the person that's not who Emerson is, but who's acting that way, that's trying to express itself through this other means that isn't even really, important.
Yeah. So more patience. And how is that showing up at work? You're presumably back at work firefighting.
Yeah. There's been a lot of interest at work, actually. Once people saw how I was showing up, and I would say I was showing up with more compassion and a more like, let it go kind of attitude. Like, it's okay. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do that. just like my shoulders had dropped, you know, and I was like just comfortable and was able to kind of roll through situations just a little better, a little, I wouldn't say calmer, but just with more peace in my heart. And it's easy at work with drama and this and that. There's politics. I mean, aside from just the job that we do, there's a whole work culture. And I think I was able to approach that a lot better, just with a calmer sense. And so guys started asking me, you know, where did you go? What did you do? What was your experience like? And slowly, as people got to kind of realize like this part of me was sticking around, it hasn't really changed. Started getting a lot more people pulling me aside and asking like what was going on. So they started calling me Happy Mugs.
As opposed to
so I was in a
previous
whatever. I don't want to know what they were calling me before. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Probably wasn't to your face.
Mugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And Muggs, before we hopped on the call here a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that there was a particular conversation that you were able to have at work. And I know that, you know, we want to protect that person's confidentiality, but I'm curious if you're open to sharing any details about that conversation. It sounded like the 5-MeO experience helped to facilitate or support that conversation that may not have otherwise been possible. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a pretty sticky situation at work, and I really thought I only had a couple options with this particular person. Like, there were two options, like go to HR or just bury it like I'm used to doing. And I sat on it for quite a while, but I know I have to work with this person, and they're actually they're a really good person. So I just didn't want to go to HR and like ruin somebody's career. But anyways, I went to Enfold. We did the last morning with you, we do a loving kindness meditation. And during this loving kindness meditation, part of the end of it is to forgive somebody that had, you know, done something. And so during this meditation, I thought of this person, and even like, and I know a couple of weeks ago we had a Enfold community meeting on forgiveness and like, what does that mean? And for me, I think what it came down to was I didn't realize I was going to do this, but at some point I had empathy for this person and like what their situation was and maybe what had happened in their life that would make them act a certain way. I actually reached that point of empathy, which was pretty profound for me because there was a lot of anger and resentment there before. And once I was in that place of empathy, they felt a lot more approachable. And so I decided that I was actually going to have a conversation with them and just talk about what happened and ask them if they needed help or if there was anything I could do, and tell them about my experience and how I got to this place of empathy. And I did just that. Yeah, I had an incredible conversation with this person where I didn't downplay my experience of what had happened at all, and was really quite truthful and also very empathetic. And the other person was very apologetic and very sincere. And it led to a really powerful conversation between two humans that are just that, humans trying to survive. And everybody comes with their own story and their own trauma. And yeah, it just wasn't about me. So that helped me get through that and have that conversation. Yeah. I feel incredible afterwards for both of us.
Yeah. It sounds like you were just able to bring so much compassion to that conversation. And it's amazing what can happen when that's how we approach people rather than through hatred or resentment. That's something that people can receive. And it sounds like it led to a beautiful connection and conversation between the two of you.
Yeah, it did. And it wasn't fake at all. Like, it was all super real. Like, I didn't have to like try and have this conversation or do anything. Like, the universe put us both on the same aid car together like a week later, and there we were, just two humans navigating life with like some real honesty. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story. That's pretty powerful. So
yeah, that was really powerful. There's just been so many moments like that, Arthur, that have come up like that, where I just show up so completely differently. My wife and I were, like I said the other morning, something happened and she was upset, and I came back to her when she was ready to talk, and she was able, it was hard for her to express what was going on, but I was like patient and able to kind of, be there. And she's got to relearn how I'm showing up too. So that's a challenge. And then at the end of this conversation, I just started crying, and she's like, why are you crying? And I said, I'm just so thankful I care now. Like, I just didn't care before. And to be able to have that feeling where you actually genuinely care and you want to hear what the other person, you're not like, don't have time for it, or it's a nuisance or a bother, but you genuinely care what the other person is going through. Man, that is such a gift. And she actually said to me, I remember a time when we were struggling and you said, if you could just care, this is what I said. I said, if you could just care less, this would be so much easier. Like I was saying, she cared too much.
Right. Yeah.
And now
rather
here
than
I
you
am
caring
just so thankful I care. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a better alternative to the original proposition, but
Yeah, that's where I was before, though. Just not in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned earlier that before this experience, it was hard for you to talk, to communicate in a lot of situations. How has that changed? I mean, we've obviously touched on it, but could you share more about what's different now for you?
I mean, just our entire conversation that we're having here. Yeah, I mean, there's a starting point right there. I wasn't that open at all. I was like funny and used sarcasm and things like that. There was a period in my life where I could actually have conversations and talk and do that stuff. But after everything kind of piled on, I just kind of shut down. So the ability now to hold space and patience, let people finish their sentences, and have compassion for what they're saying. I just find different value now in the smaller moments in life where you can connect, It just has, it just holds a different weight. It's like when you're going to die, which I feel like I did, what's important in life just absolutely shifts, and it just hasn't gone away. The change has been profound in everything I approach. Even like getting out for walks and looking up instead of at my feet, appreciating the mountain. I didn't care about the mountains before. I was kind of a more water person, but now I'm like, the mountains are beautiful. My wife is like, what did you say?
Yeah. Who is this?
Yeah. Just like raindrops on leaves. I mean, this is, people listening to me would think I'm crazy because this just isn't how I was, Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will understand what you're saying though too.
Yeah. I think at Enfold too, I will say, like, I didn't talk at all. Like, I wasn't like, there's lots of different ceremonies besides 5. And I really wasn't, and I don't feel like I was a real active participant in those. In fact, I was really quite nervous for them. I didn't want to show what was going on, suppressing that. And I think if I ever went back, it'd be a really different experience. I'm not going back. I still don't feel like I'm too scared to go back.
You're good.
Very thankful, but I think it would be a really different experience now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, at least glad that that a lot has changed in that department for you, and sounds like you're in a really great place. I don't think we've mentioned this here. I think it was before we hit record, but you had mentioned that your wife, who is a clinical psychologist, if I'm not mistaken, had made a diagnosis of you prior to coming, and are you open to touching on what's different now?
So, I mean, being married to a psychologist, she wants to diagnose me with lots of different things, but no, this one specifically, she was thinking I may be on the like high functioning Asperger's autism spectrum, like prior to Enfold, because that's, I think, I was so sensitive to everything. My cortisol levels and my ability to function was so low. But actually, it was weird. Just driving home before this call with you, and she said, I asked her, would you still diagnose me on that spectrum? And she said, no, she wouldn't anymore. And as a psychologist, that brings up feelings for her, but yeah, she was really honest. She wouldn't put me on there anymore. I wouldn't put myself on there anymore.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's amazing what's possible when we can give ourselves to these experiences. And it's just such a pleasure to hear like the degree of change that you're experiencing, Muggs. And I know that, having accompanied you on part of this journey, it hasn't always been easy, but I think your story is a testament to what is possible. And before we wrap things up, I do want to mention too, for everyone that's listening, that we maintain a scholarship fund, and we extend a 25%. Yeah, we extend a 25% scholarship to first responders when there are funds available. And so if anyone is listening that feels like this could be a good fit for them, encourage them to reach out. They can catch me at arthur@enfold.org, arthur@enfold.org, or just, hit us up in the show notes. But is there anything else, Muggs, that you feel called to share about what happened, what life is like now before we close things off, or anything that you would share to somebody like you who is maybe suffering in the ways that you used to?
Yeah, I would say, even in that, when you're in that place that feels like rock bottom and there's like no hope and nothing will help you, just find it in your soul to take that leap of faith, and just know that you'll be in incredible hands and a super supportive environment. And you don't have to give and share and cry and talk and process and this and that. I mean, I certainly didn't. I put the effort in to put on paper everything. But what I got out of that experience, I have my life before Enfold and life after. And I really do. I mean, I'll be forever grateful. I'm just living and thriving, creating. Yeah. It's just astronomical how big of a change it's made in my life. Yeah. I'm so thankful. Yeah.
We're so thankful that you made it to us, and we still get to be in touch with you. And in terms of the creating, I think we're seeing some evidence of that behind us over your left shoulder. But you want to give us for those who are watching, do you want to give us a little pan over to the workshop there? No pressure.
So I redid my studio after coming back not too long ago, recently actually, so that I could make more art. And I started, one of the gifts that Enfold gave was my creativity back, like the want to create. It had kind of been a space in here that I wasn't using, and so my wife and I redid the whole thing. And I'm just enjoying being creative from my soul. There's like creative where you're like cutting out magazines, but then there's like where your soul is, wanting to speak. And I'm feeling that again, which is such a gift, man. Another gift.
Yeah, amazing.
That's awesome.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, Muggs, thanks so much for taking the time today. And I know we'll keep in touch as the months and years unfold, but appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story today.
Thank you so much. Happy to share.